Okay. Let's see what we got here. Find the maximum length of valid subsequence 1. You're given integer array nums, a subsequence sub of nums with length x is called valid if it satisfies sub of 0 plus sub of 1 mod 2 equals sub of 1 plus sub of 2 mod 2 equals sub of x minus 2 plus x sub of x minus 1 mod 2. So I guess indices that are adjacent, the values of two adjacent, the sum of two consecutive adjacent values, well, consecutive and adjacent are the same. The sum of two consecutive values mod 2, so they're kind of parity, is the same as the sum of every other consecutive values. Return the length of the longest valid subsequence of nums. Subsequence array is an array that can be derived from another array by deleting some or no elements without changing the order of the remaining elements. Interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 plus 2 mod 2 is 1, like it's odd. So, and then 2 plus 3 is odd, and 3 plus 4 is odd. So the longest subsequence is going to be all 4. 1 plus 2 is odd, 2 plus 1 is odd, then you go to 1 plus this 2. No, it has to be consecutive. 2 and 1. Okay, so you delete this element from the sequence form. This is 1, 2, and then 2, 1, and then 1, 2. Let's delete this 1. 1, 3. Okay. Well, there's only two parities, it's odd or even. So it could only be if you start with an even number and you maintain parity with, let's say, even. So let's say the sum of those elements is 0. You start with an even number and you start with 0. Then you'd have to add another even number. And then you have to add another even number. So then it's like the number of evens. There's one possibility for the longest valid subsequence, because then the parity of them would all be even. And then if you start with odd plus an odd is going to give you 0 for the parity, plus another odd, odd plus odd plus odd is going to give you an odd. So then it'd be odd plus even. I don't think you can start with odd actually. Yeah. Because odd plus odd can give you 0 parity. And then you can't really add another odd because that gives you an odd parity. And then if you add another even, then that would give you an odd. Well, wait, what's going on with my head here? So it's 1, 3, 5. 1, 3 is even. 3, 5 is even. No, I guess it could be an all odd. So key things is if subsequence has consecutive of parity has some parity that is 0 can only work if all elements are even or all elements are odd. And then a subsequence has some parity that is 1 can only work if elements are alternating in parity in even/odd. So it has to be like 1, 2, 3, 4 where it's alternating it, or maybe 2, 1, 3, or something like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 where it's an even number. Okay, this seems pretty straightforward, so let's go ahead and I think what I can probably do is create a, does it make sense to me to create a array that is just zeros and ones based on the, so let's say I guess each number is not really, you don't care about the actual number itself, you just care about whether it's a 0 or 1. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just create a parity array. And the parity array is for every number in my list. Parity dot append num mod 2. I think I'll actually maybe also I can do something like even count and odd. Guess I just need to know what the maybe odd count is. Guess this should probably be called parities. I guess I can do odd count plus equals num mod 2. So that just adds 1 if it's an odd. And then I can do answer equals initially the max of odd count and the, actually let me say n is equal to length of nums, n minus odd count I want to say. So if you do num mod 2, that gives you 1 if it's odd or 0 if it's even. So on an odd, increment the odd count by that value, which should be fine. And then your initial answer could be either basically removing everything besides the odds. So that's just the number of odds in that to make a valid subsequence. Or removing everything besides every odd, and then you get all the evens, which is going to be the size of which is going to be n minus odd count. So that could be your initial answer. And the other answer has to be from the alternating odd and even. Alternating odd and even. Does the alternation always start with the first number? I think it does. Like regardless, you just want to use the parity of the first number as the start of the streak. I don't know if you just necessarily need this. Actually, probably I could do streak is equal to 1 and current parity is equal to nums of 0 mod 2. In which case I can't actually do, actually let's go ahead and do this. Current parity is equal to -1. Yeah. The reason why I don't do streak start with 1 is because this thing's iterating through every single value starting with this first value. I'm just gonna kind of append the logic onto this thing. So if the parity differs, if num mod 2, the parity of the current number does not equal current parity, then current parity equals num mod 2, and streak plus equals 1. I think I can get rid of this actual array. I wonder if it, alright, I think maybe it makes sense to just not recalculate this every single time. Okay, current parity and parity sounds stupid. Last parity? Actually, I'll just call this previous. So let's say current is that. Current, if current not equal to previous, then previous becomes equal to this, streak becomes equal to that, and then odd count is going to equal, actually that's going to be answer, isn't it? Streak. Okay, that's equals answer. Max of answer, odd count, and that. Okay. Alright, alright. Okay. Okay, dokie. So is there anything I can do to improve this? Take your parity. You take your parity. On your odd count. Then that is the basis for even count. Yeah, this is pretty straight. I think this is fine. This seems fine. Okay, so, and then, so I think the logic is pretty straightforward in terms of, I think the algorithm is pretty translated into the logic here, translated from the logic. The summary, you know, let's just go 1, create variables to store the count of odd slash count odds or evens, and kind of streak of alternating parity values to iterate over values in array using a for each loop, the for nums and nums, where each loop you do one determine parity, num mod 2. This simplifies the as that is all that is as number as value doesn't matter, just parity. Like it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 0, 1, 0. You're just looking at the oddness or evenness of the particular value. And then increment odd count based on parity. You could also increment the even count based on parity. And then track the change. Track if alternating parity, and increment count if needed. So for that, I have a previous equals -1 as the initial answer. Is actually my tracker for the alternating parity. If it differs, then change the parity of the tracker and then increment the counter. And then lastly, return the max of odd count, even count, and alternating parity count. And the logic for why you need to have an alternating parity count is if you have an alternating parity like odd, even, odd, even, odd, even in a subsequence, then the sum of consecutive values in that subsequence would be always 1. And you should always be able to start with the first element being your kind of starting point. Like your longest streak will always include whatever parity that would be as the starting of that streak. Time complexity, this can be O of n, where n is the length of the array. No, this is just going to be for each loop that goes through all values in an array. And there's a constant amount of kind of work done in the loop. There's no nested for loop or anything with that. Space complexity is going to be O of n. Has no extra space besides, O of 1. Has no extra space besides constant variables or variables are needed. Okay, cool beans.